Welcome back guys, Robert here, and welcome to the 2023 Miami Grand Prix Lookover. So, this is my 9th video on YouTube, and let's go through this video. And before we get into it, sorry guys for the delay of the videos because I had a lot of other things to do, so it's been a long time. It's been about a month and a half since I uploaded a video, so let's go. And the first video of May. Friday, 7th of May, 2023. Nico Hulkenberg crashed and brought out the red flag. So yeah, this was an FP1 and Nico, yeah, you can excuse him for this because he's a new driver to Miami. He's never driven here, so it takes time for F1 drivers to know the circuits which you have never driven before. So I feel like you can excuse him for that. And next, Charles Leclerc crashed in a turn 8 and the red flag was brought out. Yeah, I mean Charles Leclerc crashed in a turn 8 and that was not the first time he crashed. Never. So Charles had a good session, good day on Friday, but yeah, the end wasn't the greatest, let's say. Sergio Perez took pole position, followed by Fernando Alonso. So, first thing I want to tell you, the fastest time was not set by Sergio Perez. It was actually set by Max Verstappen in Q2. But the point is, how fast this car is. The fastest time last year was a 1 minute 28.9. And this year, or 1 minute 28.3s, I'm not sure exactly for this lap, but Sergio did a 1 minute 26.8. I mean, that's a fast time, 1:26.8. Fernando Alonso, P2, very good effort from him. And Carlos Sainz, a pretty shocking qualifying, not the greatest. But the surprise of all, Kevin Magnussen, 4th on the grid. I mean, that is some sort of a joke. Seriously, he just dragged that team, the car, basically to 4th in front of the home fans for Haas and Miami. So great day for Kevin. And Pierre Gasly finding form after that tough weekend in Baku after crashes aplenty. So Pierre P5, very good session from him. And George Russell, 6th, dragging that Mercedes into the top 6. That was a woeful car in Miami. Very, very hard to handle. It was sliding around everywhere. So yeah. And Charles Leclerc, for the second time in literally 24 hours, he crashed in the same corner twice. It was a turn 8, and then the next, it was a turn 8. Simple. And Charles was very, very angry with himself. Only managed to start 7th and ruined literally half of the field's qualifying, half of the Q3 runners qualifying. I mean, that's how bad that Leclerc got that mistake, and that cost a lot of people. Esteban Ocon, it did cost him because he finished only 8th. He could have been like around P6 something. And then Max Verstappen would have cost him the most. He could have literally been starting P1 and he started P9. And Valtteri Bottas, yeah, he could have been ahead of George Russell or behind him, but very solid effort from Valtteri, dragging that woeful Alfa Romeo into the top 10. Pretty good effort. Alex Albon is just a genius. Seriously, he is. P11 in that Williams. I mean, oh my god, that's so freaking good that I think Alex deserves plaudits, And then Nico Hulkenberg, 12th on the grid. Yeah, that wasn't the grid. That was a mare, to be fair, for Nico. His teammate Kevin Magnussen qualified 4th, and Hulkenberg only qualified 12th. So, very, very underwhelming qualifying from Nico. And then Lewis Hamilton, P13. Yeah, P13. First knockout in Q2 since Imola 2022. It's a long 1 year ago, but Lewis Hamilton had a pretty bad weekend until then. And Joe Guan Yu, 14th. That's a very, very solid effort for Joe. A very, very solid midfield driver. And 14th is pretty good. Nick De Vries, 15th, okay session. But the big shock from Baku to here, Lando Norris. The McLarens were struggling, and Miami also tends to cause a very, very big heat. 31, 32 degrees Celsius. That's quite high, For me, not because I live in India. So I think Lando and McLaren struggle because of that. Because the heat of McLaren is a very big problem. And yeah, it was overheating problems were very, very bad. So yeah, Lando 16th on the grid was a very, very tough weekend for McLaren. And Yuki Tsunoda, I think that qualifying rule may have cost him the weekend because Tsunoda did pretty well in the race, but 17th in qualifying ruined it completely. So yeah, Lance Stroll could have been in that top 10 easily, and he qualified 18th. Aston Martin misjudged the strategy. They've not done that this season at all. They made them very good strategy calls, especially in Bahrain and other circuits like that. But this time, Lance got the strategy wrong. He tried to finish the qualifying. He was a little bit overconfident, and that track evolution in Miami is a lot. I think Logan Sargent at one point in Q1 was like 12th or 13th, and he finished up last. So Stroll was confident that he would get through, and he did because he did only on one set. So that's not the greatest effort from Lance. And Oscar Piastri started 19th. Second time he qualified 19th, but then got promoted to 18th in Bahrain. So because of Gasly's lap being deleted. So Oscar Piastri 19th. Yeah, that is just a tough. That sums up McLaren's weekend basically. So 19th on the grid for Oscar, and Logan Sargent, a very, very tough weekend for him too. So 19th on the grid for Logan is just a little bit of. It's just been underwhelming for Williams literally. The qualifying pace is good, but Sargent could not hook it up. Made a few mistakes. So yeah. The race. And the familiar face is in pole position. Max Verstappen, pole. Of course he did. He gained 8 places. Pretty good. And Sergio Perez finished second, and literally he lost a place. A very, very okayish weekend sums up with a finish P2. So yeah, that wasn't the greatest. Fernando Alonso P3 for Aston Martin. Really solid effort. 4th podium of the season. Really nice for Fernando. So I feel like Fernando has done very, very well so far this season. So P3 is a very good effort. And George Russell, bro, he moved to Mercedes at the wrong time in 2022. And he is hailing this absolutely tragic Mercedes car from like the 6th quickest team this weekend to like P4. Wow, that's a great effort. And then Carlos Sainz finished 5th. That was such a bad weekend. 3 back-to-back bad weekends. A very, very bad weekend at Australia in Melbourne. A very bad weekend at Baku. And here, I feel like Carlos, in the interviews he was saying that he had a good weekend, but no, not at all. He had a woeful weekend, Carlos, right now. He's just nowhere. And Lewis Hamilton 6th. Yeah, that was a very good, solid recovery drive. And yeah, pretty good effort from Lewis. He and George Russell are the perfect pair to take this car basically like from where it should not be to where it should have been. So yeah, Charles Leclerc 7th. It was an absolute shocking weekend. After a really good weekend in Baku, here was a complete joke. P7, not a very good weekend. Pierre Gasly finished P8. I'm like, very good weekend from Pierre, as well as Esteban Ocon, P9. And Kevin Magnussen gets his 2nd points finish of the season after Saudi Arabia, still at 17th in the championship. I don't know how. Yuki Tsunoda, P11, had a Lance Stroll P12. So yeah, Yuki did a good job, and as well as Lance. I think 11th and 12th were pretty good efforts from them. Then, except Lance should have got points, but he couldn't because of he was stuck in traffic. Valtteri Bottas 13th. Yeah, I mean he had a very good weekend though. He didn't score points, yeah, but he got a good weekend. I mean that was the most important thing for Alfa Romeo, not scoring points. Points is just an is just average for these guys because Alpha have like the slowest car right now. Then Alex Albon 14th on the grid, sorry 11th on the grid and 14th. Yeah, I mean that was an okay weekend for Alex. Yeah, and then Nico Hulkenberg, a very overwhelming weekend for him. A very underwhelming. Sorry. So I think Nico should have done better. He should have been where Kevin Magnussen was, but no. P15. And a Joe Guan Yu, 16th. I mean, oh my god. I mean, this Alfa Romeo team are just having no pace on strategy and on like the race pace, but I feel like that was not a great weekend for Alfa Romeo. As I said, Bottas had a good weekend, so yeah. 17 Lando Norris. Yeah, that is just a bad feeling. It reminds me to the first two races in Bahrain, Australia. Yeah. Then Nick De Vries, P18 with literally the worst weekend. He was the one who collided with Lando Norris. Lando should have been a good P11 or something because his pace wasn't too bad, and then the compromises because of Nick De Vries hitting him. I think De Vries has just been an absolutely shocker. He's just been a magnet for basically everybody. Like, he's the one who crushes into everybody. That's not acceptable for Nick. He's a 28-year-old who has a lot of experience. Nick has to show that. Then Oscar Piastri. Uh, yeah, I mean P19. What could he say? He's just staying out of trouble. Only in Saudi Arabia he didn't stay out of trouble, but nowadays he's staying out of trouble. So a good day, good from Oscar. And Logan Sargent, P20. Yeah, I think both of their races were curtailed because of damage. So yeah, that was not a representative weekend, representative race for both of them. So let's go to the next one. And the race score. Well, I gave it a 5 out of 10. Yeah, I mean, last year was like a 2 or 3 out of 10, but this year wasn't that bad. I mean, yeah, it was just an average race. I feel like Max was hounding Checo for basically everything, and I think he got his reward. But Max was the only good headline of that weekend. Yeah, I mean, then it was a complete ball fest, and it was like attacking was the thing. There was so many overtakes in Miami, so pretty good. I mean, 5 out of 10 is just an average result. So, guys, if you did like this video, please like and subscribe to the Ride with Krishna channel. It will help me a lot. Thanks, and see you next time.